HooHooHooRobin.
Patrice O'Neill in studio. And one of the bravest men in the world sitting on the couch, Andrew Mortan. You're insane for wanting to write a book on Tom Cruise. I just got to start by saying that. Because we've all heard the rumors of the Scientology and you know, if you attempt to say anything bad about Tom Cruise, oh man, do they come after you.
I tell you, when I first started it, I had a chilling conversation with somebody who'd been in Scientology at a very high level and left, and he said, why are you taking on this book on Tom Cruise and Scientology? He said, it's easier to as he said, sandpaper a lion's ass than take on Scientology.
Yeah, and I assume you don't need the money, and I also assume that there's plenty of other people you could have easily written about, but you decided to go and write about Tom Cruise.
Yeah, because I just found it a fascinating subject, because here we are, you know, for years we've known about what a controlling character he is, and then he abuses Oprah's couch, and then people start to think, well, let's look behind the mask here. And as far as I'm concerned, he's somebody that he kind of represents the spirit of the age, you know, the religious fervour, our worship of celebrity, the global reach of everything, and that's... And the more I got into it, the more intrigued I became.
His moment on the couch, I wanted to ask about this. Do you because that was kind of the change in public perception about Tom Cruise beginning? Like, wow, this guy's not this all-American perfect guy we thought he was. There's something irritating about him. Someone said he had fired his publicist, and that changed a lot. What exactly was happening when that went on that caused it? Yeah,
so that's a good question. He'd fired Pat Kingsley, this tough, hard-assed publicist who made sure that he was kind of Teflon Tom. And then his sister, who's a Scientologist herself, she took it over, and she was happy for him to almost express himself as a Scientologist. But when I started looking into his life and his story, I realised that it was 9/11 that really transformed him. He was divorced from Nicole Kidman, who had become disillusioned with his faith. 9/11, because he lost one of his good friends in that tragedy, in that appalling event, and it kind of rededicated himself to his faith. So he then started recruiting celebrities, seeing senators, seeing secretaries of state, using his influence, using his celebrity. And that's one of the things that I found really interesting about this, is that celebrities get a free pass these days. If you're a politician, you're analysed, you're attacked, or everything, all your policies are scrutinised. If you're a celebrity, you can assert, you don't argue, you can just say what you want, and people, because you've been a great movie star or whatever, you know, people will believe you.
Some about Tom Cruise, though, I'm not like a Tom Cruise fan, but one thing about him is like some celebrities you put in categories, and I don't think they deserve to be in the category you put them. Like, I think people put Nicolas Cage in he's a great actor category, but Tom Cruise he is what he's supposed to be. He opens movies. Like, that dude, his name is before the movie, and I've never seen that before. Like, so for what he is, you know what I'm saying? He is what he is.
But that makes us want to know more about him, I think, right?
But that's what I'm saying. The dude is like Tom Cruise, then MI3. Like, that dude.
That is big.
He is what he is.
Hey, can you explain Scientology, like, in 30 seconds? We've been trying to figure this out for years.
Founded 50 years ago by a science fiction writer, L. Ron Hubbard. It's basically you worship yourself. You become your own god. You cleanse your body of negative thoughts, feelings, and so on. It takes you a lot of time. You become clear, as they call it, clear. And by the end of it all, you have the ability to control what they call MEST, matter, energy, space, and time, and you can move ashtrays with your mind. You can levitate yourself and so on, all for a price.
And that's the key to that, all for a price. I mean, this is a religion for rich people, right?
Yeah, it's a pay-as-you-go religion.
Or a spiritual thing for rich people.
Yeah, or for any. I mean, I've spoken to people who've spent $1 million on this, you know, reaching the top level.
So if you're a poor guy, you can't be a Scientologist?
Well, they would argue that you could be a Scientologist, and they would offer you cheaper courses.
Are they atheists?
Sorry?
Are they atheists?
Well, they don't believe in God. They believe in that you become your own God. So they're not. They don't worship an outside being. They worship themselves because they also believe in reincarnation, and the more fanatical members are called Sea Org members, and they sign a contract for 1 billion years. And I've seen these contracts. You get some time off. You get a few years off when you've died, or what they call it, you've dropped your body. And they believe that their founder, L. Ron Hubbard, will one day come back to Earth, and he died in 1986. They expected him back 20 years later. And in fact, even when they announced his death, they said he was going off round the universe to continue his studies.
Right.
So that's and they've got houses for him around the world. They've got one big mansion for him in California, where they put out a clean set of laundered clothes every day in anticipation of his return.
Oh my God!
Imagine that if he did come back and his biggest complaint was that his shirt wasn't starched.
Right.
What is it?
Well, no, actually, the one thing is he hated the smell of rose. He used to get into a towering rage. So if you're with a Scientologist, they never wear perfume or aftershave.
Really?
Hey, Jimmy, we're going to break because it's such a mess we're in the middle of here. But we got Andrew Mortan in studio. We'll talk more about the biography he wrote on Tom Cruise. More on the Scientology, why it's so secretive. And speaking of L. Ron Hubbard, there's rumors about Katie Holmes's baby, and that could be connected to L. Ron Hubbard. Also, possibly the homosexual thing. It's interesting. Well, I'll explain after the break. I want to just keep it right at.
Get down. There's a red dot on his head.
It's Opie and Anthony.
The Opie and Anthony Show.
It's Opie and Anthony. Let's get right back into it. We got Andrew Mortan in studio. This guy knows how to write a biography, and his latest one is on Tom Cruise.
The best-selling author, and he just told me, we had a great chat off. It's disgraceful that this book is not being published in certain places, which I just find disgusting.
It's not being published in Britain, New Zealand, and Australia. Although the Australians are now, because of the furore around the world, various wholesalers are saying we're going to start selling it. We're going to stand up to the legal threats and intimidation from Tom Cruise and Scientology.
And you're not scared of the lawsuits that they're talking about?
Look, as you say, I'm a well-known biographer. I spent 2 years researching this book. I knew what I was up against, and the people who I've spoken to, they've either signed off on it, and I'm prepared to stand by the story. I mean, the whole thing's been very carefully vetted.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was it? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, now, Jimmy.
How hard was it to get people to talk to you, especially people in the know about Scientology and the reputation they have, whether it's justified or not?
Well, I mean, it's very interesting. A lot of them were quite nervous, but it's useful being known. I mean, I'm known for books I've done on Princess Diana, on Madonna, on Monica Lewinsky, and so on. So when I ring up, I'm not some kind of stooge for Scientology. I'm not some private eye. I'm not somebody trying to do them over. They know they can look me up on the Google and so on. So it's been very useful to have that.
Yeah, you got a reputation behind you. Sure.
What is something you found out that you were very surprised at that you think people will become a little bit more? Because I think people are becoming very disillusioned with Tom Cruise. The more you see him, I mean, personally, I see him and I just think the guy comes off like an ass. I mean, he really doesn't. We've talked off here. I don't think he's a good spokesperson. I don't think he seems genuine. I think he seems very, very pompous and like an arrogant, dumb jock trying to lecture me about something he heard that he thinks is deep.
Now, is this brand new feelings, or is this his Oprah couch feelings?
Yes, the more I got to know about him.
That seemed to be the changing point, like Jimmy said earlier.
How'd you feel about him during Cocktail and Top Gun days?
No opinion. I thought he was an underrated actor. I thought he was an underrated actor. But
right. To give him his due, I think he's a very good actor who's actually been not afraid to take difficult choices, to do things like Magnolia, that film where where he was a coach. I mean, a life coach rather, and also obviously was fired by Paramount, but he's now the head of a studio. He's a very powerful man. I think Forbes calls him the most powerful celebrity in the world.
And you call him one of the most dangerous celebrities in the world, by the way.
Well, people have called him the most dangerous. I mean, he is someone who, because of our modern age, because we worship celebrity, as I mentioned earlier, politicians don't get a free pass, celebrities do. And when a celebrity's got a message and they've got power and authority and a whole organisation behind them, they can make a real difference without ever being questioned. And all this book does is say, hey, let's examine what he has to say, let's examine his life, and let's examine his beliefs.
And why is Scientology so secretive?
Well, because they've always had quite a lot to hide in the sense that it's what I would call it's a bait and switch organisation. They bring you in, and then they never really tell you what it's about. And then finally you do, when you believe in that, you have to believe in this kind of creationist myth about the evil Lord Xenu and so on. And they've brought you in for a period of time. So a lot of it is hidden beneath the surface.
Is that a lot different than believing in like Jesus and
the Bible
and what's in there?
I mean, most creationist myths are absurd. I mean, you know, they don't stand up to any scrutiny because they've been around for a long time. What you've got to ask yourself is, what are the other philosophies and policies that they're arguing? I mean, you know, Tom Cruise, as he said publicly, he wants to outlaw and ban psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
They want to use their phrase, globally obliterate psychiatry, and they want to take over the world's mental health, and they're trying to do that. They want to take over education and so on. So it seems to me entirely sensible and entirely proper to examine these policies
and taking over mental health. That's profitable. There's a lot of money at stake there.
Yeah, there's a lot of money at stake.
Sure.
With the drug companies and all the rest of it.
Are they? I'm sorry. Are they well intentioned? Like a guy like Miscavige, I always forget to say who's the head of Scientology. I've seen. I know very little about him. Is he a guy who's a megalomaniac, or is he a guy who really believes in what he's saying and is kind of getting trashed because Scientology is just the thing to trash?
Well, he's the head of the church. His father joined when he was going through a crisis in his life, and his son became a member pretty early on, and left school on the day of his 16th birthday and went into Scientology, and has been there ever since. So he never graduated high school, and he's been inside Scientology. He's a true believer. The point that they always make is that they have people will have seen that video of Tom Cruise talking about.
We played it yesterday.
We're the only ones who can help at a car crash and so on. They believe that they have a monopoly of answers to all the world's problems, whatever they are. They have a monopoly of truth, and anyone who dares to dispute that is a critic, and by definition a criminal. So there's no room for doubt, no room for dissent in that universe.
Has there ever been an outside source that's ever said, you know, Scientology helped us, like, you know, like whatever, the Christian, the Wildlife Fund or something? Has there ever been anybody that's ever said Scientology has helped? Meaning they give a lot of money, they build schools, they do all kind of stuff.
They do a lot of work to promote themselves, and they've opened their own schools, they've opened their own
no, I mean for others, like outside of their own cause, that there's some other people that say, oh wow, he gave me money for cancer.
Tom Cruise funded a detox center in New York after 9/11 using the Scientology, what they call purification techniques. But essentially, they help themselves. They help the Scientologists promote their own causes and promote themselves. Right.
Now, getting change the subject to Katie Holmes' baby. There's a lot of rumors that this is associated to Ron L. Hubbard.
Yeah, there was during the
L. Ron Hubbard.
Well,
sorry.
Think back to the pregnancy. It was a real circus, wasn't it? Tom Cruise bought a sonogram machine. You know, who ever does that to monitor the growth of the fetus? There was this whole silent birth thing and the big placards and all that debate around that. Inside Scientology, there was, and they, by the way, they deny it, but inside Scientology, they do, as I've mentioned earlier, believe in reincarnation. And there was a belief, a wildfire, almost wishful thinking, that L. Ron, because it's 20 years after he died, that somehow the offspring of Tom Cruise would have the spirit of L. Ron inside him.
It's Quato from Total Recall.
But and this, by the way, isn't the first time it's happened. I mean, when L. Ron's daughter Suzette had a baby, the toddler was a boy and ginger hair, like the founder of Scientology, and was followed around one of these secret bases that they have.
There's a secret base in
the desert, right?
Yeah, and I think you wrote something about how he became. There was a rift between him and Miscavige when he found out. Like, the more he learned, was it that when he found out about Xenu and their belief in that there was a problem between him and the head of the church?
Well, what happens is
maybe you didn't write that, or I just heard it.
No, I mean, what happens for most of these people, that you get to a level called operating thetan 3, and then you go through what's called the wall of fire. And the wall of fire is where you're given a folder in a clear plastic envelope and a key, and you send it into a room, and you read this facsimile handwritten story written by the science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard, which basically tells you this creationist myth, which you've seen parodied on South Park. We all know it. Evil Lord Xenu sends all these people to Earth, or TGAC as they call it. They put into volcanoes, nuclear bombs, and they're all killed. And all these spirits, these dead spirits, are roaming around the Earth, and they've covered up, and they cover your body. And to get rid of these spirits, you have to speak to them telepathically. Now, a lot of people have joined Scientology because there's something wrong in their lives. Their marriage has gone wrong. They've got problems with anger. They want to give up smoking, and it helps. Once you get to this level, you're thinking, hey, space aliens, and so it's a leap of faith. At this point, it's a leap of faith, because afterwards, what you've got to do is spend your time actually talking to yourself telepathically to get rid of these body thetans. So you'll go through a process, and it's so weird. You have to do it, and Tom Cruise does this 3 or 4 times a day, and you speak to yourself telepathically, and you talk to these body thetans, and you say, your first question is, who are you? And they will answer, I'm a dust mite, or I'm Napoleon, or I'm Bill Clinton. And eventually, once they've said, I am me, or whatever, they recognise themselves, they leave you. So you spend a long time getting rid of these body thetans and clearing your body so that you become clean and cleansed and move forward.
All right, so you've cleared that up, because I always thought it was bizarre, but now that makes perfect sense. Now, I would almost understand in a way, are they literally thinking they're talking to spirits, or are they using spirits as a symbolism for personal demons and things like that, or are they being literal, saying, no, we really believe that there's a creature named Xenu?
You've got these body things that you're cleansing yourself of. And as people have said to me who've gone to these levels, you get into quite a euphoric state. You feel good about yourself because you put yourself into a light hypnotic trance, and then one pretty outspoken former Scientologist said to me, he said, you can talk to your thumb, you can talk to your finger, you can talk to your elbow, you can talk to the crack of your ass all day long, but it's not going to make you a Superman. And once you remember that, once you realise that, you're gone. Wow. And that's the thing. You're in a psychological bubble.
Hey, we're running out of time with Andrew Mortan. You didn't really go into the rumors that Tom Cruise might be a homosexual in the book. What I read anyway, I tried to cram. I felt like I was back in college. I pulled an all-nighter and tried to read as much as possible. But what I read, it seems like you believe that he's heterosexual. Yeah,
I deal with that pretty extensively, because the first question I'm always asked is he gay? And I come up with an emphatic, he's always been a ladies' man. And in fact, he got married aged 11 in a schoolyard in Ottawa when he was to his local sweetheart, who signed her name Maypother, which was his given name. But he's sued regularly people who have said that he's gay. Now, I've spoken to the legal people who've actually had him in chambers, who've spoken to him, and he's been prepared to go on oath and say, I'm not gay, I've never had a gay experience, ironically though, the fact that he's sued so often, it's added fuel to the flames, and these days, who cares?
That's probably just a very egotistical guy who doesn't like things being, as opposed to, he's probably not covering up gay rumors, he's just such an arrogant dude, he doesn't like things being said about him, and he wants to make sure that nobody says, but then again, I wouldn't want that either, so I can't even fault that.
What's the church's view on that, the Scientology church, do they have a view on that?
Yeah, they do, well, L. Ron Hubbard says that all homosexuals, if they don't convert to Scientology, should be, to quote him, disposed of quietly and without sorrow.
With the Star Trek phaser.
So yeah, but he never said, he doesn't tell you the method to do it. But in actual fact, he was in the early days, he was marketed as being able to, quotes, cure you of homosexuality. And I've spoken to one guy who spent $500,000 trying to cure himself of being gay, got to the highest level, realised he was still gay, so he sued the church for his money back.
Wow. Nice. And they had to send 30 men to have sex with him.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm going to buy Dianetics for you, Norton.
Why? I'm not gay. Does trannies make you gay? Let's hope not. Scientology would scratch their head looking at me. We don't know what this thing is.
We can't figure this one out.
Andrew Mortan, best-selling biographer. The book is called Tom Cruise, an unauthorized biography. If you go in and just say, I want the Tom Cruise book, they're going to know exactly what you mean.
Oh, yeah.
And the parts I've read of it, it's a well-written, it's not just a trash fest.
It's a great read.
Believe what I've read. And it just is a really well-put-together work, and I wish you a lot of luck.
Yeah, it was
Nice
nice
to talk to you guys.
It was nice meeting you. Let's just leave the building separately, then.
Yes.
Because we don't have Kevlar suits on like you do.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, we're heading out, right?
Yes.
I don't know what we're doing next. We might go over to XM. We might not. We got to figure it out. Andrew Morton, thank you so much. Patrice, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.